purpose in life, to help you love what you do for work every single day, to help you be the rock star that you are meant to be, to make more money than you ever thought was possible, and to have more time freedom so you can actually enjoy the life that you're living. I'm here to help you set your life on fire. All right, well, welcome. Very excited. We've got Brian Tracy here today. So Brian, I just want to really thank you for the opportunity here to invite us into your studio and to to share some of your knowledge with us here today. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to just kind of kick things off, and I wanted to just ask you, out of all the different ways to become successful, in your experience, what is the most prominent for you out of all the different success tips? I mean, is it goal setting? Is it focusing on leadership? But I'm just curious to hear your initial feedback out of all the different ways to become successful, what stands out the most for you?
Well, if you want to be successful in a competitive society, you have to serve other people in some way. You have to sell something to someone.
Yep.
And there's no shortcut around that. So the question is, who do you want to sell to, and what do you want to sell to them? Now, they've studied the fastest growing small and medium-sized companies, and one of the things that comes out is that the founders of these companies are selling something that they really care about. They like it, and as a matter of fact, they develop the product for themselves and or their family and friends. They use it themselves, and only afterwards they think, I could sell this.
Yeah.
Perfect example is eBay and Pierre Omidyar, who had been collecting Pez dispensers for years and years and years, and he thought, well, maybe I could set up a website to sell or exchange Pez dispensers with other people
they
who
were
collect.
They were the rage back in the day.
And it built one of the biggest multi-billion-dollar businesses. But you find that over and over again, the fastest-growing businesses are started by people who really love the product for themselves.
Right.
And the reason I say that is because a lot of people who get into a business and they think, well, I don't like the product that much, and I don't use it myself, but I'm sure there's people out there that I can convince to use it.
Yeah.
And these people always fail, 100% failure rate. So you start off with yourself. What is it that you like? What is it that you enjoy? You talk about living a life on fire. What kind of a product or service excites you, makes you happy?
Yeah.
I'm proposed with people with products all the time who want me to market the product. So I say, well, all right, let me try it out.
Yeah.
And if I try it out and I like it, I'll recommend it. And if I try it out and I don't like it or don't get any results from it, then I just lose all enthusiasm.
Yeah.
And a second thing about business, if you want to stay on becoming financially successful, one of the great rules, I was mentioning my friend Steve, he said, find a problem that a lot of people have and solve it better than anybody else is solving it.
Yeah.
So you find that every single product or service is a solution to a problem. And if you've been reading the Lean Startup and the 4 Steps of the Epiphany, the whole revolution taking place in marketing now is find a problem that a lot of people have and then develop a minimum viable product, a basic solution, which is a description. This is what my product service would do. And go to a prospective customer. Say, who would be the ideal customer for me? You say, who would be the ideal customer in terms of demographics, which is age, education, income, sex, family formation, and so on. Ideal customer in terms of psychographics, the wants, needs, ambitions, desires, goals, hopes. And the third thing, which is a whole new area, and it's called ethnographic marketing, it says, what role does or would my product play in the life of the person who would buy it? And this is a whole new area that is revolutionizing marketing. What role does it play? I mean, is it important? Could it be a prominent role in a person's life?
Is it nice to have or need to have?
Need to have, and how do they use it, and when do they use it? They're now, some of the researchers in this area are finding 100 prospective customers and paying them to board a market researcher who lives with them 24 hours a day, like a member of their family, watches them and the members of the family use the product and makes notes, how they use it, when they use it, how they use it in interaction with each other. What role does it play? And it's opening their eyes like light switches going on. So you start off with that, is who is my exact customer, and what problems does my customer have, that I can solve, what needs does my customer have that I can satisfy, what goals does my customer have that I can help them to achieve. And one of the great questions is, what problems do my customers have that they will pay me to take away with my product? And so you start from that, and then as soon as you get an idea, you go to the customer. You say, who's my ideal customer? Well, let's say it's someone like you, and I've got this great idea for an online technology that will help you streamline your time management. So I would go to you and I say, well, here's this program that we're thinking of putting together. What do you think? And I say this over and over again, Nick. Your customers will make you rich. They want you to be rich, as long as you become rich by making them happy. So the critical thing in marketing is to make your customers happy, and then to make your customers happier than your competitors. Because customers always have a choice: A or B, A or B, A or B. This product or that product, this product or that product. And they always chose the one that on margin makes them happier. So successful companies make more customers happier than unsuccessful companies. So you have to ask them, what would make you happy? What would make you so happy you would buy mine rather than anyone else's? And the revolution that's taking place in the last few years is the discovery, and I just had a 2-hour luncheon with a top business executive, is that people are developing products and entering markets without ever talking to a customer.
Wow. And that's really interesting, because I see, with the clients that I work with, that when they don't nail this, and they don't nail that target market and the problem, they end up spending all this time to build something that doesn't even connect, it doesn't even land on the bullseye, or even on the whole board, if you will.
Yes. So it's so important that the two fit together perfectly. Now, so marketing and sales are different in this sense. Marketing is attracting people who can use and will pay for your product. One of the analogies I use to explain this to an audience, I say, imagine that I own a restaurant not far from this meeting place. And so I would come up here, I say, is anybody here hungry? All right? And those of you who raise your hand, that's marketing. Those are the prospects.
Identifying,
Yes, so I'm identifying the prospects. Now selling is where I convince you to come to my restaurant rather than to go to someone else's. And people get confused about this. They think marketing and selling are all the same. If you have a couple of clever taglines, people will buy your product. Now, Peter Drucker had this wonderful line. He said, the purpose of marketing is to make selling unnecessary, but it seldom happens. So therefore, what you have to do is say, how do you attract customers? And what you attract them with is a question or a statement that causes them to say, that's for me, I want that. I want that right now. Give me some more information. It connects with them like a cattle prod. It connects with them like electricity emotionally. It causes them to literally convulse when they see your product offering. If that doesn't happen, nothing will ever happen. And so when we say that you should be able to summarize the reason why a person should buy your product or service in 12 to 15 words or less. And if you can't do that, Einstein once said that if you can't explain your product to a 6-year-old child and have the 6-year-old child so clear that they could go home and sell it to their father, then you don't understand it yourself. And you need to go back to your own drawing boards. Customers are always right. Customers are always right, and that they always act in their own best behalf as they see it. Your job is to get in with them, slipstream with them, so that they see that your product or service for their specific product, problem, need, or goal is better than any other choice that's out there. And you just have to keep improving it, because today we have copy at a more rapid rate than ever before. If you have an idea that works, somebody will copy you tomorrow. If you have an offering that works, a discount that works, a bonus that works, even copy or dialogue that works, somebody will copy you tomorrow. And today there's 36 million people, last number I heard, people trying to make money on the internet by selling something to somebody for some reason, somehow, at some price in some way. And so you have to think, all right, there's 36 million people, and they're watching everybody in their space. And if somebody has an idea, they'll copy it. And other than that, they'll come up with something new. So it's like if you're not running every single day to continually improve your offering, you're going to be outstripped by people who are.
And what do you think, so, as far as the marketing side, you're attracting the right customers to you, and then anything that you'd recommend as far as how to make them really happy, or how to do that over-deliver?
Well, first of all, you keep asking them. You keep asking, and remember, customers' wants and needs and demands are changing very rapidly. So what they want and what will make them happy today is not what they want and what will make them happy tomorrow. And so you have to keep with them. It's almost like you keep in their slipstream, keep asking them questions and getting feedback. Now, in business, we say that the purpose of a business is to create and keep a customer. What that means is that 100% of all of your business focus has to be on creating the customer, getting the customer to buy, finding a customer, and persuading them to use your product or service. Now, you can do that several ways. You can do it with discounts and free offers, You can do it with deceit, which is a common method. People just simply say that their product will do things
False
that
claims
that
and
they
all
won't.
that.
Yeah, that they won't do. So you can get a customer the first time. So what is the measure of business success? The answer is customer satisfaction. So sometimes I will ask a business audience, I say, how many people here are in the customer service business, and customer service in your companies? Nobody raises their hand. I said, well, the fact is everybody's in customer service.
Yeah.
Because customer satisfaction is the measure of how happy customers are. Now, what is the measure of customer satisfaction? This is 3 levels. It's repeat business. Now, the ultimate level of customer satisfaction is your customers are so happy that they buy from you, they buy again, and they bring their friends.
Yep.
And some consultants at Bain & Company, Fred Reichold and his partners, wrote a book 5 or 6 years ago, which is the Bible of the future. And it was called The Ultimate Question. And the ultimate question was, when you speak to a customer, you ask them this question. This is the question that literally predicts and determines your business future. Whether you'll be successful, whether you fail, whether you have a lot of sales or low sales, whether you make a lot of money, little money, or no money, the question is very simple. Is based on your experience with my product or service with us, would you recommend us to others? That's the question. Would you recommend us to others on a scale of 1 to 10?
Okay.
And what they do is they find that a person who will give you a 9 or a 10 will buy again and bring their friends.
Okay.
A person who gives you a 7 or an 8 will buy again occasionally. A person who gives you a 1 to 6 will not buy again, and they'll tell people not to buy from you.
Right.
So what they do is they have what is called a net promoter score. This is becoming very commonly used in business today, and small businesses have got to think this way. There's a rule, by the way, Nick, that says if you want to be a big business, think like a small business. If you want to be if you're a small business, you've got to think like a big business.
Yep.
And the big businesses are always measuring. I have a whole system or process that I teach called management by measurement. Is how do you set up measures that enable you to measure and calibrate everything that you're doing. Most people have no measures. Interesting point, 80% of small business people do not know why their customers buy. They throw out, I call it throw up on a page. They go, whoa, they throw up all these reasons why they think people should buy the product.
Yep.
And the product has to pick through this and pick a reason, say, okay, I'll buy for this reason.
Okay.
But if you ask a business owner, why did that person buy your product? Oh, they bought it because of this. You say, all right, put a gun to your head. Would you bet on that? No. 80% of business owners are guessing. They don't know. And you know why? They don't ask their customers. They're afraid that their customers may criticize or complain. And of course they will.
Yeah.
But you have to be willing to take it. It's sort of like selling. Is if you're not willing to accept rejection, go to McDonald's, they're still hiring, get a job at Walmart. Forget about entrepreneurship. If you're not going to allow yourself to be rejected on a regular basis, if you're not actively courting rejection every single day, well then you're just simply not cut out to be on your own. This idea of people think, well, I'll hide in a darkened room and I'll send out messages and nobody can reject me. All they can do is delete, and I don't even see that, and I don't track it. One of my friends took his business from $140,000 a year to $5 million a year in 3 years, online, one person using an Apple Air, doing live business seminars. He got a 40% profit margin, and he measures every single response, every single click that goes from where to where. He's got staff that works for him, all freelance. He measures every single click at every single time and every single source and every single delete and every single dropout. He measures them all, and he works on them all the time. And he's managed to go from $140,000 to $5 million in 3 years, selling an intangible in a highly competitive market.
Right.
Why? Because he measures everything. So and fortunately, the technology exists today.
Yeah.
So the critical question, they call the Net Promoter Score, you take everybody that gives you a 9 or a 10, and you subtract from that everybody gave you a 1 through 8.
Okay.
And what do you have? Well, you find that average American corporation, which is pretty high, has a minus of about 80 or 90%. In other words, if you take away everybody who is dissatisfied with those who are very satisfied, it's awful. And if all you do is improve your Net Promoter Score, more and more people giving you a 9 or a 10, what happens is your sales and your profitability go up automatically. So then they teach this, and you ask this question on a scale of 1 to 10, based on your experience with my product, would you recommend it to others? If they give you anything less than a 9, then your obvious question is, what could we do to get a 10 from you? What would we have to do, change to get a 10? And they'll say, well, and there's only 4 ways. There's only 4 ways that you can change your business. And I've trained thousands of entrepreneurs and taken them from basically rags to millionaires with these 4 questions plus some other things. Question number 1 is, what should we do more of?
Yeah.
And what you should do more of are the things that your customers like the most. Question number 2 is, what should we do less of? And do less of the things that your customers don't care about. Mm-hmm. It's amazing how many products have bells and whistles that customers don't. I mean, half of the technology that you have on half of your apps, you will never use or access again. Number 3 is, what should we start doing that we're not doing now? Mm-hmm. What is it that we can offer you that's not currently in our product offering? And they will tell you. And then number 4 is, what should we stop doing completely? Because you don't care about it, you don't want it, and you're not willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
So it's always more or less, stop or start. More or less, stop or start. And if you ask your customers, they will always answer you in one of those 4 answers. Okay, what can we do to get a 10? They'll give you a more or less, stop or start. And what you do, and this is what they have found, is if it's a reasonable suggestion, and virtually 99% of the suggestions have to do with qualitative things, not money. Nobody's going to say, well, give me 50% off or give it to me free. No, it's not a money thing. Is what customers want, is what they want to do is they want to be happy. Yeah. So they'll give you examples of what you can do to make me happier. All right? And then what you do is you say, okay, that's a reasonable request. You say, I hadn't even thought about that. I'll give you an example. And now this is the most amazing example. There are 3 restaurant chains that I know of. 3 restaurants. 2 of them are chains. And people would go to the restaurant, and they like the restaurant. They call up and go again. They say, we're really busy. We're crowded. Could you come before 6 or after 9? It's our busy time. How about next week? And people would say, who hate to be rejected, they say, no, I want to come for dinner, between 7 and 8 on Friday or Saturday night. They say, well, we're really busy here. If we could just move you around, if you come at 6:30. No, I'm not going to come at 6:30. Well, how about 8:30 or 8:45 or anything else? And so people say, the heck with it, just hang up.
Yeah.
And finally go somewhere else. But here's the interesting point. If people ever decide not to use your service because they're not happy, they will never come back. It's not as if, oh, I'll give you another chance next time. Yeah. It's like, I've been to a restaurant where the food was terrible. I said, this food is terrible. They said, well, I hope this won't, color your opinion of us. I hope you'll come back and see us again. I say, why on earth would I ever come back? Right? The city is full of restaurants that have good food, and your food sucks. Why would I ever come back to your restaurant? Why would I ever take a second chance of wasting a whole evening coming here? They go, huh? Like they've been hit in the head with a sledgehammer. So anyway, so what happened was, this restaurant, people would call up and they'd say, we try to come in, everything else. Well, then they realized, OMG, 20% of our customers represent 80% of our business. These are the good customers, the loyal customers, the customers who come regularly. They're good spenders. They bring friends. So what they did is they simply set up a special phone number. And anybody who calls on that special phone number gets seated immediately.
Wow.
If it's Saturday night at 7:25, you call that number. I say, I'd like to bring 4 people in at 7:30. Absolutely.
Wow.
I get on and off the phone in less than 15 seconds, and the table is ready. And I know 2 other restaurants who've done the same thing. And those restaurants are full all the time. Because if you're sitting there thinking, well, honey, where do you want to go for dinner tonight? Well, Jesus, it's Saturday. It's already Saturday evening, or it's late. We got home early. Blah, blah, blah. We say, well, if we call here, they're going to give us what I call the dick around. And if we call there, they'll give us the dick around. If we call there, the dick. Why don't we call there? And they'll seat us immediately. We call there, and it's like a ball on a rubber string. Boing, boing. Just keep going back to the places that make you happier.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to grab the name of that restaurant. Sounds good, and that's a problem that comes up all the time. It's, oh, shoot, didn't make a reservation. Now you're going to get stuck at a 9:30 reservation,
Yeah.
And what's so interesting about all this is that, for me, I focus a lot on online marketing. And so I feel like I end up in so many situations where everyone is so focused on doing the activities online that they're not really feeling the rejection. It's like, oh, can I run Facebook ads and do a webinar and all these different things. And what's interesting is that there's such a lack of focus on the customers. And even just hearing this, I start to think about my business. And we've done surveying and things, but not even close to the level, that you're talking about. And it's like, there's a simplicity behind that is so powerful to just really just make your customers so happy that becomes your marketing part of your marketing.
This is the future, Nick. It takes 10 times as much time, effort, and expense to get a new customer as to keep an old customer. And so what you do is once you get a customer, you just service the heck out of that customer. And always ask, and these are the wonderful words, next time, is thank you very much for using our services. How can we make you even happier next time? How can we serve you better next time? What could we do for you next time? What is it that we're not offering that we could offer you next time? And if you ask customers, I keep saying this, your customers will make you rich if you ask them. And instead of trying to get new customers and throwing them over your shoulder, remember, what's the definition of a business? It's to create and keep a customer. First of all, to create the customer, which you have to work very, very hard for in this competitive market, and then to keep the customer. Once you've got them, hold on to that customer and basically shift. It's almost like a searchlight of mental attention. Shift your mental attention away from getting the customer, shift it onto keeping the customer. How do you keep this customer? Because this customer knows 300 other potential customers, maybe 3,000. If you make this customer happy, you look at the most successful apps, 100% of their marketing was word of mouth. 85% of all sales is word of mouth. Happy people telling other people, go here and be happy. And so what you do is you focus on making them happy. I'll tell you a great story. A woman in my seminar started her own business, a personnel service, where she was go around to large companies and she would get contracts to fill jobs that the companies had. And they would send a message down to the HR and they say, we need an accounting assistant, we need this, we need that, and so on. And so she would go just like a salesperson from company to company. And she had been in this business with a larger company, so she knew some people, and yet she was just starting off. She was a little company, and they're reluctant to. Anyway, so finally, one woman in one of these companies gave her an assignment to find an employee. It cost $60,000 a year, and that means she would get a $20,000 commission, about 1/3 of the first year's salary. So is the way that business works. So she went to work and through all of her references, and she ran ads and she called people and so on based on her experience, people she knew working. And every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, she reported back to this customer and told her, this is what we're doing, this is what I've done, this is what I found so far, I'm on this stage, I should have someone for you to talk to every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And finally, by the second week, got her exactly the right person. They hired the person, she made the commission. And then at the end of the discussion, she said, I've never had such incredible service from anybody in this industry. We're called upon by people in the personnel industry all the time, but I've never had such incredible service. She reported to me Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Sometimes I wouldn't hear from them for 2 weeks. And I'm going to recommend you to my friends. I know a lot of people in this industry. And they gave her, she gave testimonials and recommendation, and she started to build her business, but the nickel dropped. She said the nickel dropped. She said, this customer didn't know that the reason I was giving her such good service is because she's the only customer I had. However, I decided after that we'd set up a policy and a callback system so that we would call every single client 3 times a week. And we've done that, and within a couple of years, she'd built an extraordinarily successful business, fabulous reputation, because she made her customers happier. And what makes them happier is to know what the heck's going on. Just keep your customers informed about what's going on, and ask, how can we serve you better?
It's awesome. I'm really glad that you shared and we went this direction. I mean, it's such a key thing that every single person watching right now, every single person can take that and look at their business and say, you know what, I'm not doing enough. And so there might be some happy customers that result from this. And what I'd like to do now is drill down into goal setting. And I know I'm a huge goal setting fan, and that part of that is by seeing your teachings and reading your book, many of your books. And so I'd love to just have you share with us your philosophy on goal setting, and then I want to kind of segue into time management because it's so important. I see so many entrepreneurs that are working so many hours, and for me, I think of a life on fire as loving what you do, like you said in the beginning, having passion for the products that you're selling, making your customers happy, but then it's like you got to have that lifestyle where you can enjoy this one life we have to live. So I'd love for you to share about goal setting and some strategies for that.
Okay. Well, they've just completed a 22-year study, 12,000 companies, 16 countries, 150 researchers. Best study I've ever seen on business success. It's the most complete study ever done. And they looked at 50 different qualities, strategies, plans that different businesses have to be successful, and narrowed it down to 3.
Okay.
And worldwide, these are the greatest predictors of productivity, performance, and profitability. Number 1 is clear goals and objectives at every level of the company. The business owner knows exactly what they want to accomplish. What are my goals? And you always start off with a financial goal. I read this wonderful line recently. It says, if you want to be successful in business, measure every activity. And if you want to be really successful, put financial measures on every activity.
Yeah.
Jeff Bezos was named the top businessman in the world by both Fortune and Forbes last year. And Bezos is obsessed with measuring everything, right down to the second. How many seconds does it take to pick a product, and put it in a tray? How many seconds does it take to package it, move it? How many minutes does it take from the time the order comes in to the time it goes out? How many pennies does it cost for postage to here? How long does it take to deliver? What's the repeat business? They measure everything, because the rule is what gets measured gets done. And so be really clear about your goals. And then the second part is to put measures on everything. So let's say our first goal is to achieve a certain amount of gross income. Second goal is net income. Third goal is gross sales. Fourth goal is net sales. And then one company, and I really liked this, it was a study on this company. Guy started an online business and invested everything he had and everything his friends and family had and everything else, built the business up to a few $100,000, and the business just collapsed, like a circus tent with a tent pole, just collapsed, and he went bankrupt and lost everything. He had to go back home and live with his mother. And after a couple of months of sulking, he decided to come out, and he had lunch with a friend of his in our business, in an online business. And he said, what was your critical number? He said, what do you mean your critical number? What was the number that you watched 24/7 in your business? Oh, we didn't watch any number. We watched all the numbers: sales, profitability, shipping costs, rent, loans. No. You've got to have one number. And that's the number that you focus on. And we call this the economic denominator. It's the number in your business. Well, he finally figured out that the number was profit contribution per sale. Profit contribution per sale. So that became his number. And then he went back and looked at his previous records, and he found that they were selling a lot of products with discounts, bonuses, and shipping and guarantees and packaging, and they're losing money on them.
Wow.
So now every single person in the company focuses, and they only sell products that yield a net profit contribution. And the ones that yield the higher contribution get more promotion and everything else. Well, he's now on track to build a $100 million online business.
Wow.
Yep, now on track.
Incredible.
This is a study done by American Management Association, from bankruptcy, selling the same product.
Wow.
Using the same technology, the same product. I mean, it's the same packaging product, but now they've got a number. So the first thing you do is you set your goals, and the second thing you do is you set your measures. And so you ask every business owner, what's your number? We do this in my coaching program. What's your number? What's the number that you watch all the time? The one number that more predicts your success than any other single number. And there's about 35 numbers you can pick. For example, in retail, what's the number they use in retail?
Would that be the net profit? I mean,
sales per square foot.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
And
yeah.
if you read Wall Street Journal, Barron's, Business Week, if you look at their analysis and stories on Walmart or Tiffany or Apple stores, everything is down to the penny, dollar and cents per square foot of sales. And they look same store sales open more than 5 years, sales first quarter, sales second quarter, everything was this beam obsession on sales per square foot per store. When Howard Schultz came back into Starbucks, the very first thing he did, it had gotten out of control, is he did an analysis of sales per square foot of every single store in the industry, and found that about 2,000 of the stores were actually losing money. It's 6,000 stores. They shut down 2,000 stores. Because why? It's because nobody was, I mean, stores were busy, but they were spending so much on staff and costs and rent and ingredients and everything else. Nobody was looking at actually how much were they earning and netting per square foot. So the first thing I do with my entrepreneurs, I say, what is your number? Now there's about 5 or 6 numbers that we look at. Of course, everybody says my sales number. My sales are the most important thing. But here's the question, and this is, I went through a strategic planning process on this. I said, so everybody agreed sales are the most important thing. Top line, sales, just got to increase the sales. And so then someone asked the question, well, what if you spend so much to get the sales that you lose money on every sale?
Yeah.
And you go, huh? And everybody stopped and realized, well, no, it's not sales, it's net profits. After all expenses, that is the critical number that you look at. So that's where goals come. So the three things are goals, measures, and special rewards for excellent performance. They found that the companies who had very clear goals and objectives for everybody, very clear measures and deadlines for every goal and objective, and special rewards for excellent performance outperformed every other company in their industry.
So what would you say to people that think about maybe they set the goals but they don't achieve them? Or, are there any tips about just, so let's just say that you set the goal, how do you make sure that you bring it to life and make it happen?
Well, first of all, you set realistic goals. And I think every company should have a growth plan of 25% a year. Now, if you're a fast-growing market and things take off, you can gear it up. But you should have a plan to grow 25% a year. That's a realistic, it's a challenging goal, it's a stretch goal, but it's realistic. It's doable. That's 2% increase per month. So it's very possible to do. Some people say, well, I want to grow 100% a year. Well, 100% a year off what base? Well, I'm not making any sales yet, but I want to grow 100% a year. So you have to think on paper. Think on paper. Write down the numbers, and be very honest and objective. What you'll find, Peter Drucker had this observation. He said, when you write down your numbers, this is your true test of your competence as a business executive, to hit your numbers. And if let us say you go to the bank, and this is what we have found. You go to the bank and you say, I expect to hit $100,000 in sales this year with about 20% net profit, okay? And then you hit 90,000. As far as the bank is concerned, you're incompetent. You don't know what you're doing. You are a danger in terms of borrowing money. But let's say you hit 110,000. As far as the bank is concerned, you're incompetent. You simply do not have the ability to accurately project your numbers. So when people project numbers that are wrong, in either case, it's a mark of incompetence.
Yeah.
You and I were talking about our mutual friend Eric. Eric is absolutely fantastic at projecting numbers. And I've been working with Eric now for almost 14 years. And Eric does numbers and numerical calculations and estimates for every single month, every single sale, every single size of sale, number of sales, cost, and everything else. And he does these on an updated version every month for 14 years. And he's always very, very close to on those numbers. Very narrow ranges of discrepancy. Yeah,
it's been awesome to hear some of the behind the scenes of just the tracking and the level that you guys, level of detail that you go to for the dashboards and all the different the KPIs, and it really is impressive, and that level of detail to have sounds like, that gives you guys the ability to plan, set goals effectively. So maybe one of the reasons why people have a hard time hitting the goals is that they're kind of plucking the number out of the sky versus really being realistic.
They're plucking it out of the sky. There may have been a time where you could be kind of rough and ready with your numbers, but the competition is so fierce today that you don't have any slack. It's almost, I say, it's like driving down a narrow, winding road along the cliffs, along the ocean, and in the night, in the rain. If you take your eyes off the road for 1 second, you're going to be dead. You're going to go off the cliff into the ocean. And that's what you're doing. You're navigating a very narrow road, very rapid, very changing, the turbulence of market competition. You say, well, I don't need to do that. Well, stand back, because you're going to be out of business any second now. Because it's like a race. If the person you're competing with is doing that, then you haven't got a chance. So it's your competitors that set your minimum standards. Your competitors determine what you sell, how much you sell, the price you sell it at, your level of profitability, your level of growth, everything else. And your competitors are more determined and more competent today than ever before. So you have to be really, really determined in order to survive and thrive against them.
And so what would you say, so as far as having more time, so let's just say if you're trying to stay ahead of your competitors and have a great quality of life, what do you recommend as far as time management skills so that you can have the time to measure, have the time to over-deliver with your clients and do the surveys? So what would be some techniques about time management to get more time back?
Well, first of all, this idea of balance is for employees who have no future. The fact of the matter is that you have to have what is called a deliberate imbalance when you start a business. That means you have to get completely out of balance for a period of time. Now, the minimum number of hours that you have to work if you want to be successful in this business is about 60 hours a week. That 60 hours a week is basically 6 10-hour days. And that means that a 10-hour day is basically 8 to 6. It's not that long a day.
It's not
but then you have to work full blast for 10 hours. I just listened to one of the richest and most successful entrepreneurs in the country, David Foster, who's a musical impresario. He said he doesn't know any successful person who works less than 6 days a week. There are no successful people, and this guy's one of the most successful people in the industry. So what you do is you work 6 days a week, and then you work all the time you work. Now this is one of the great rules that would be worth this entire interview. And I stumbled across, I'm probably the world's foremost authority on time management. I sold millions of books in 42 languages. I spent 3 decades studying and writing and teaching on the subject. And one of these things I stumbled across, I'm like, oh, geez, it's work all the time you work. When you work, work. Don't play at work. Most people waste fully 50% of their working day playing. As far as they're concerned, work is an extension of school. And what do you do at school? You go to school and you play with your friends. And you take a few classes to justify your being there. And when the teacher's watching, you do some homework assignments. But mostly you just hang out. You have coffee, you go early, you stay late, you socialize. It's just like it's an extension of kindergarten and grade school and high school. You go to college. And then you get your first job. And what you look around your first job, and there's a lot of people your age, you think, what does this look like? What does this remind me of? School. What do you do at school? You play with your friends. And so what they do is they come to work and they play, eat and talk and play with their friends. I've walked into businesses where I'm being interviewed on television. I remember going into a television station, they're interviewing me on time management. And I walked in there and I was going to make this point, and there are 10 people there. It's about 9:30, 10 o'clock. There were 10 people in the studio. 9 of them were sitting around, drinking coffee, reading the paper, talking to their friends. Only 1 out of the 10 was working. It was absolutely amazing. And
That's
today,
crazy.
you see, I sometimes ask, if you got a job at McDonald's, how much would they pay? Well, they pay you minimum wage, all right? Now, if you got a job at McDonald's, how would you have to work if you went to work at McDonald's? Could you just stroll in, shoot the breeze?
I'll get the fries later.
Get yourself a cup of coffee, talk around. No, you get in, you check in on time, or you're fired. And you do your work, and you do this work, and you got a pit boss, and he's walking around with a clipboard, and he's checking, and you got a 10-minute break, and you get a 30-minute break for lunch, and you get a 10-minute break later, and you're working the whole time. If you're not working the whole time, if you're standing there, they just send you home. They don't need you.
Yeah.
And so just imagine if you just put the same discipline on yourself that you would have to have if you worked at McDonald's at a minimum wage job. Now you aspire to earning far more, having a much greater life, but you think you can do it with less discipline than a McDonald's minimum wage worker? Get your head out of wherever it's stuck. It's when you go to work, work all the time you work. Don't mess around. Plan every day in advance. Time management skill number 1 is make a list of everything you have to do during the course of the day. Set priorities on your list and start on your most important task. And work nonstop until that task is complete. Then go to the next task. But always be working from a list, almost like a checklist. Every single minute you're working and you're racing. I heard this wonderful line at lunch today. He said, you and I, entrepreneurs, are watchmakers, not clock watchers. Isn't that wonderful? We are watchmakers. We've put together all of these ingredients, these moving parts, to create a product or a service that people will pay us for so we can do it again and again. And the great majority of people are clock watchers. They just look at what time it is, and that's soon they can go home, and they shoot the breeze. The average working person, according to the study, spends 37% of their day in idle chit-chat with coworkers on subjects that have nothing to do with work. They spend the rest of the time on lunch, dinner. Now they're spending more and more time on social media, email, telephone calls, going for lunch. Did a study of entrepreneurs, including the people watching this. All right, they asked them, how important is marketing in your business? Marketing and sales. How important is this? Most important thing. Oh my God! I mean, it's the blood to the brain. It's oxygen. Without it, I mean, we're not a business. I mean, that's the most important. That's all we do. He said, well, how much of your time? All day long. That's all I do. I come in. I think about marketing all the time. They said, well, great. Would you mind if we just followed you around for a month with a camera and a stopwatch and just kind of tracked your actual time usage? So they did. And you know what they found out? Average business owner markets 11% of the time.
Wow.
Is in marketing and sales 11% of the time. The rest of the time they're just BSing, killing time, going for lunch, having coffee, making calls, checking their email, calling back people, bothering people that don't need to be bothered, talking to their friends about things that don't have anything to do with anything, and leaving for life balance. I want life balance. But the fact is, if you work all the time you work, I'm really big into the importance of family. If you work all the time you work, you start at 8 o'clock and you work until 10, you work till 6, and you work flat out 10 hours, you're on top of everything. You're smoking. You talk about living on fire.
Yeah.
You got nothing but energy when you're on top of your work. Then you can have all the time you need for your family.
You know what? It seems like, and I correlate this, I think about now, is like when I waited tables. And when we would wait tables and it was busy, it's almost like you get in this flow state and you're so energetic and the time would fly by. And now when I love having back-to-back calls and in my calendar being so full, and I feel like I'm on fire, I'm in the zone, right? But when the days are slower,
Yeah.
it's like I find myself farting around, on email or doing different things, and it's interesting if you actually just confined it, to where you are flat out, like you said, working in the day, how much time you would get back.
Yes.
So
You just don't waste time. Don't waste time. There's one of the great time management techniques is when you look at your list of things to do, imagine that you're going to be called out of town for a month and you can only do one thing on your list for today.
Yeah.
Which one activity would you want to be sure to complete? All right? And that becomes your number one activity. And then you start and complete that task. Now, when you talk about mindset, the most important mindset of all is to start and complete an important task first thing in the morning. Start it and complete it 100%. Some people will get up early and they'll start at 5 or 6 in the morning. If you start and complete an important task, you actually kick yourself into what we call flow, where you start to perform at a higher mental level than before. And it's almost like flying at a higher altitude. You think better, you think faster, your brain releases endorphins, you are quicker off your feet, you have better ideas, you have inspirations. If you start and complete a major task first thing in the morning. So one of the most important habits you can develop is the habit of planning before and then starting and completing an important task first thing in the morning before you check your email. The rule now is don't check your email before 11 a.m. I'll ask an audience. I speak, I've spoken in 69 countries now, 69 in February. And I'll ask them, why do you get up in the morning? Why do you, almost all entrepreneurs, business owners, why do you get up in the morning? And they're going, I say, you get up in the morning so you can make money. Not so you can make less money, but so you can make more money. Is that correct? Everybody says, no. I say, no, how do you make MMM? Okay, you get up in the morning to MMM. Okay, 3 letters. Now it's, how do you make more money? It's called SMS. And what does that stand for? It means sell more stuff. Okay, so you get up in the morning to make more money, and the way that you do that is you sell more stuff. So your purpose in the morning is value creation and revenue generation. Value creation, revenue generation, sell more stuff. Only way you can generate revenue, sell more stuff. So if you are not creating value and generating revenue, you might as well be in bed with this covers pulled up over your head, because you're a totally useless person to yourself and anybody else. And as a matter of fact, you're probably ruining the lives of the people around you because you're distracting them from doing something productive.
Yeah.
And so therefore, as long as you are selling more stuff, creating value and selling more stuff, you're working. You're justifying your reason for getting up in the morning. If you're not doing that, then stop whatever you're doing, get back to it.
Right. Yeah. If you're not going to sell more stuff, then might as well take the day off and enjoy yourself. That balance. I love that this is just straightforward, because I just feel like that there's so many people that are looking for the easy way out. They're looking for the magic bullet. And I think a lot of the online marketing is around, and there's a big difference in expectations as to what's possible with businesses. So before we wrap up, I do want to dive into one last topic. And so I wanted to just have you speak about leadership and ask you to share maybe a tidbit or a nugget of knowledge, something that we can walk away from on the leadership side. How do we grow our leadership skills? And then I wanted to get into your free offer too.
Well, I've written books and trained probably more than 1 million leaders in more than 10,000 businesses in this subject. Simply enough, the 2 common denominators of leadership are, first of all, vision. Is a person has a clear picture of where they want to go in the future. You can be clear about your vision, and flexible about the way of achieving it. And if your vision, let's say, should be to achieve financial independence, every single person owes it to themselves to become financially independent.
Yeah.
Right? The way we become financially independent is we make more money by selling more stuff. And you talk about people looking for the easy way. That's human nature. But we say sometimes the fastest way through is the long way around, which is to develop a really good product or service and then aggressively market and sell it to as many people as possible. Repeat. Do it again, repeat. The second quality is courage, is to have the courage to take the chances, to step out, to risk your time and money and energy and emotion with no guarantee of success. And probably the third quality would be discipline, is to have the discipline to make yourself do what you know you need to do each day to be successful. Here's something I say: if you're going to work 10 hours a day, go to bed early 10 hours a day. Working day starts when you go to bed, not when you get up in the morning. Why? Because people stay up till 10 or 11 or 12 o'clock at night and watch TV, and their brains are scrambled, or they're online and so on. They don't sleep well. They get up the next morning. Here's an interesting discovery. Peak performance, elite performers sleep an average of 8.6 hours per night.
Wow.
And we're talking about those habits, of rich habits. One of the habits they found is successful people sleep a minimum of 7 to 8 hours. The more recent research is 8.6 hours.
Wow.
Why? It's because your brain is an energy machine, like a battery, and you've got to fully charge it. You've got to top it up to 100% every night when you sleep, and that requires sleep.
Yeah.
It requires lots of sleep. And then when you get up in the morning, boy, you are wired. You can go all day full blast and perform at your very best. If you get up in the morning and you're tired, then you start to make excuses and you waste time and you don't have the energy, and you'll do it tomorrow, and you can't even think clearly. Smartest people I know get up 2 to 3 hours before their first appointment and use that 2 to 3 hours to learn, to exercise, to write down, prepare, set goals, and get started.
That's really interesting, is using that time to learn. So that would be exercising. So it's almost like taking that time in for themselves to really kind of, have time, quiet time to really replenish and to learn. And that's cool before the beginning of the day. If you try and read in lunch, I mean, it's a disaster.
It doesn't work. They say the first hour is the rudder of the day. And one of the great lines of my life. Take that first hour and invest it in enriching your mind. Read great stuff that's going to help you to be better that day. Think of how you could apply that stuff. Think of how you could be better, more fast, more effective, and then go onto the field and play all day. So with regard to leadership, my bottom line definition of leadership is the ability to get results. So the question you always ask is, what results are expected of me? And of all the results that are expected of me in my position, what is the most important result? And then work only on that. And don't do anything but work on your most important result until it's completed at a high level of satisfaction.
I love it. I love it. And so before we wrap up, I would love for folks to know how they can get in touch with you, and if there's a leadership freebie or free gift, as we call it, that we can share too.
Wonderful. What we have is it's a free leadership assessment where you can take this assessment and it will diagnose your strengths and weaknesses as a leader, what you need to do more of, less of, start or stop, to get far better results in whatever you're doing. And I think the address is briantracy.com/leadership on fire. Is that what it is?
Yeah, Leadership on Fire.
Leadership on Fire. So come to briantracy.com/leadership on fire, and we'll send you the free assessment. You can take it online and you get a complete feedback of exactly what you need to do more of or less of to be stronger and more effective as a leader in your own business.
I love it. Well, Brian, thank you so much for the time. This has been awesome. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. We'll see you guys on the next episode. All right. So how awesome was that session with Brian Tracy? The guy is such a legend. And so I just want to encourage you to just be awesome with your customers. If you're a Life on Fire customer and you're watching this right now, get ready to be over-delivered too. So there's so many awesome tidbits, and nuggets inside of that Brian shared, and everything from the time management all the way down to setting your goals and getting them, tracking numbers, so much cool stuff to share in there. So what I want to encourage you to do is, if you think that was good, that is a fraction, a tiny little taste, and I want to encourage you to grab the Business on Fire bundle as well. So the Business on Fire bundle, that features 2 courses from Brian Tracy. It features his Time Management Made Simple course, and that is $397, and his course on leadership, that is $597. And all of that, the Business on Fire bundle, that is all those courses is included in the Business on Fire bundle. And on top of that, we have another over $5,000 worth of total courses and offerings in there as well. So you can go to businessonfirebundle.com. You can get Brian Tracy's courses, 2 of them, Plus, you can also get access to 6 other courses and trainings from some of the top experts in the world on marketing and on time management. So go to businessonfirebundle.com, check that thing out, and set your business and life on fire.
I'm here to help you set your life on fire. Hey, what's going on? Nick Unsworth here, and I'm a kick-ass business coach, and I'm on an